Welcome everyone to Après Midi, the first of this rentrée season since we were on vacation in August. And I'm really pleased to see this amazing crowd. I mean, did anybody take a count? Not yet? Yes? How many? How many?
What do you mean, one cab?
A count. Anybody have an idea? Never. Oh! Okay,
Surreal.
doesn't matter. We have filled the room. There is no question about it. Okay. First of all, before I even read any of this, stuff that's on the website, I'd just like to tell you that I have known these two people for a very long time. I've known. Well, you're going to speak from down there, so I'm not going to ask you to stand up.
Oh, well,
Unless-
I'll stand up and show everybody who I am.
Yeah, stand. This is Harriet, Welty, Rochefort. David, Downie, okay. Two amazing, illustrious authors who I have come to know over many years. So I'm really, 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 really pleased that they're here to speak. And they have spoken here before, a couple of times. David's spoken many times before. Harriet, you've been here, I don't know, 3 or 4 at least. At least. David is a native San Franciscan who moved to Paris. What? What's funny
That's
about
funny
that?
already.
I used to work in San Francisco.
And that's why it's funny.
Good Lord.
Who moved to Paris in the mid-1980s. He divides his time between France and Italy. A longtime journalist, his travel, food, and arts features have appeared in over 50 print magazines and newspapers worldwide and dozens of websites. He is the award-winning author of 6 novels and over a dozen acclaimed nonfiction books translated into a variety of foreign languages, including French, Italian, Chinese, and Korean. Korean? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I read it was a pretty good translation too.
Well, how do you know?
Trust me.
His essays have been published in over a dozen anthologies. Downie graduated from UC Berkeley and Brown University. He is married to photographer Allison Harris, who is right there. Say hello, Allison. Harriet Welty Rochefort is an author, speaker, freelance journalist, former professor of journalism in the Institut d'études politiques de Paris, which is Sciences Po, and longtime resident of France. She's written 3 lighthearted, informative books on the French and their ways. French Toast, French Fried, and Joie de Vivre, all published by St. Martin's Press. Her latest book, Final Transgression, published in 2020, is a historical novel that takes place in Paris and southwest France during World War II, which has garnered high praise from eminent U.S. historian Robert Paxton, among others. A French-American dual citizen, Harriet lives with husband Philippe. Philippe is here. Where is Philippe? There's Philippe. In the trendy east of Paris, in a garden apartment with a tiny lawn. No, it's actually big.
Yeah, well, I just said.
Just big enough to mow. It's a big lawn. I've seen it. And a fig tree that has miraculously defied both Paris weather and pollution. She opened by telling her story, starting with her Lowen roots and how she and Philippe met at Le Select, a popular cafe in the Montparnasse district. Keeping on topics, she presented a PowerPoint presentation describing what France was like during the German occupation, a fascinating history the French hope never to repeat, but she is not doing that today. Today, we have something very different, right? And the two of them are going to banter it out as soon as we welcome them. Thank you both.
I thought we had microphones.
I don't know.
Oh, so
You're on.
We're on?
okay.
You're on.
Oh,
Do I get to start?
If you
hope
want.
so.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm one of these kind of perfectionist kind of people, like over-prepared. So here are all my questions.
Oh my God.
Don't worry, they're going to be brief questions, and you're going to give the long answers. Anyway, okay, sorry.
May I just say
Yeah.
one thing? Her microphone is not a speaker.
Ah, okay.
She has to project,
Oh.
and you all have to listen closely.
Well,
Okay.
I've done a lot of public speaking, and I find that if I stand up you can probably read my lips, if nothing else. So I will stand up while I ask the question, and then I'll sit down. Okay.
We
if you
can
don't
take
mind.
turns.
We can take turns
Like
going
pistons.
up and
I'm
down.
going to be doing this with
And you can, whatever. Okay.
I'm going to be going up and down with the phone.
So let me just start by saying that I have known David for more than 40 years. And I started way back in 1980. I was a member of a press club I'm still a member of. And I asked him to come and speak as a panelist. You don't remember this, do you? A panelist at a writing seminar.
Oh yeah,
because
no,
can't
I remember.
That's okay.
At Sciences Po.
I don't know what it was. I can't remember. But anyway, we did it, and that's how we got to know each other. He has, as you know, written scores of books, most of which I have on my shelves, and now he's come up with this. This is a memoir. Most of David's books are, well, he's written fiction, nonfiction, articles, all kinds of things, but never a memoir to my knowledge. And okay, True Confessions. I love this book, and I'm not just saying it because I'm standing here, believe me. And interviewing him, I sincerely love this book. And there are two reasons. One reason I love this book is that I've known David for so long, and I've heard some of these stories, and I always wanted to know more. So now I do. And the other one is that this is the story of a crazy, larger-than-life family. If you think your family's crazy, wait till you read this book. He himself says that the Downie Anzi tribe, that's to say his mother's family and his father's family, are quirky, his mother mercurial, and his siblings are cuckoo. He describes one sister, the sister, as a family spy, so you can kind of see what you're getting into here. So now I can ask my question, and then I'll sit down and let him answer it. What inspired you, finally, to put all these family memories down on paper? Was it for both personal and political reasons? Some kind of link, to fascism in Italy and to what's going on in the States these days? And I incorporated a second question after that, which makes sense. It's called Shadows of Rome. I'm curious about the title, Shadows. What kind of shadows? You say things cast a shadow, or shadows are a darkness. What exactly does that title mean? Okay, there we go. That's my first question.
Thank you, Harriet. Thank all of you for coming on this hot day. Luckily, I have very, very poor eyesight, so excuse my get-up, because all of you are a blur. So this is equality, true equality, except the guy from San Francisco here who's a wisecracker and is going to laugh a lot, I think.
No, I won't. I promise I won't.
Okay. So the short answer, Harriet, is yes.
Oh, okay.
Next.
Yes, what?
No. I'm joking. What inspired me to write the book? It took me 25 years to research it and write it and force myself to write it. And I honestly would not have written this book if it hadn't been for my wife, Allison, who knew my parents well. My mother lived to be 93, and Allison was the only person in my entire life that I knew who knew my mother and had not been savaged by my mother, who was a very charming, extremely intelligent, and once very beautiful woman with a very strong personality. And she would come right up to you and say, I like your hat. I like your, oh, but your hair? No, that's no good. Good thing you're wearing it. And she did things like that all her life. And she shocked white bread America, to be honest. She was Italian. She was born in Rome. Her family came from the extreme north of Italy. And but she grew up in Rome during fascism, and She was very tough. She was a survivor. She lost friends and had a very rough time because her father was an anti-fascist. So imagine someone in America today who has the courage to say that Trump is a total fascist, which he is, and to go out and protest or do things like get papers, passports for Spanish Republicans or Jews who were trying to get out of the country. So he got in trouble with the fascist authorities, and he was ruined financially and tortured. And very sadly, after the war, wound up in an insane asylum and died in an insane asylum. So I grew up with this sense of the grave dangers of fascism. I had no idea that I would live long enough to witness the fascist takeover of America. I actually wrote this book before Trump was reelected. I did not think he was going to be elected. I'm not sure he was. That's another story. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think we may all live long enough to discover that there was some hanky-panky in certain swing states. But this was a book that I had wanted to write forever, and I didn't have the physical courage to do it. In part, well, when my parents were alive, there was no way I was going to write this book, right? And then it got very complicated. My mother had some form of dementia. If you read the book, you'll learn the ins and outs. So I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then finally the opportunity arose. Allison was working on a catalog for a photo show, and we were going to Verona in northern Italy, and the village that my grandfather's family came from was about 20 or 30 miles from Verona. And so I said, okay, let's go up to this town and see the family tomb. I had no idea where it was, or I had never been to this town. And so we, in the winter, got in our little Fiat Panda and drove up in a snowstorm to this place, which turned out to be one of the homeliest villages in Italy, I have to say. There are lots of places where the Nazis blew something up, or the resistance, or whatever. This place was destroyed by the local inhabitants when they got rich. They got rich after World War II, manufacturing shoes and whatnot. And so they went in and they tore down the whole village and rebuilt it. And it looks like a very bad shopping mall from the 1960s. So we were shocked. We found the tomb, and then I was kind of committed to write the book.
There you go.
And it was not easy to do.
Yeah. Well,
I've written a lot of books, but
that was the question.
This,
one of the questions.
this was the hardest book to write, for sure. Very painful, often, and emotional.
I'm sure it was. And can you hear me now, or do I have to stand up
I don't
again?
know,
Yeah.
but I'm losing my voice.
Losing the voice, yeah.
You asked me why the title.
Yeah.
My idea was The Long Shadows. In fact, I was going to call it The Long Shadows of Rome, because the experience of fascism cast a shadow across the Atlantic, across the country, across the decades, because my mother was traumatized by growing up under fascism, and her entire life was spent as a kind of improvised resistance fight. Everything was a struggle, right? Like, you talk to a lot of people who survived the camps. Well, she wasn't in the camps, but she starved, and she, lost friends, and she risked her life. She got shot at. not by the Nazis, but by guess who?
I know, and that was going to be one of my questions.
Is that you?
No.
I think it was you. Yeah. I knew we had a troublemaker there. She was strafed by the United States Air Force because she was carrying messages for the resistance. And the Americans, the Allies, were coming into Rome, and they were shooting at anything that moved. That doesn't sound American, does it?
That happened a lot in the war. Happened a lot of war.
Okay.
Well, okay, that's a perfect point for me to come in, because you begin this book with a scene in which your mother, a teenage member of the resistance carrying messages for the partisans, is somewhere south of the Colosseum and Forum and running from an aircraft that is raining bullets on her, which is what he just talked about. When she recognizes it as a U.S. Air Force plane, she raises her arm in an outraged bras d'honneur. You know what a bras d'honneur is? Okay?
What we all want to do to Trump.
And so the pilot gets the message and tilts the wings of the planes and flies away. And she's furious. In the preteens, you confirmed this story, because this was one of her many stories. You confirmed the story, and you write that it was the first time her unbelievable tale seemed believable. And you were also very charmingly say that while listening to the story, you wondered if the act of warding off bullets was proof of her unusual powers. You write about your mother: she has the power to enchant, that I know. She charms men, women, and animals, and has acolytes in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's a mother of 4 working in a foreign language, English was her 4th, and a talented artist. And you write that the enigma of her extraordinary life will live on in you. And now you have allowed us, your readers, to have a look at your larger-than-life mother and your family, and for that we thank you. So I get to my question, which is, how exactly did you go about describing so clearly and precisely her extraordinary life and the world in which your parents met during the war? How long did it take you to do the research, chase down the truth of the tales that you heard? And can you tell us more about, we're going to already skip to the postscript of the book, in which you discovered that memories don't always match and that there are various versions of the same event. Was that a hindrance?
Okay, that's about 15 questions
I
in
know.
one.
Sorry about that. And give me
Okay.
a long time
When
to
I
talk.
was a little roly-poly boy, I used to build models, and I built a model of an airplane, a P-38 fighter bomber. You know, those funny-looking ones that looks like it has 2 fuselages. But I learned a half-brother of mine gave me a very hard time because I said it had 2 fuselages when they're actually called nacelles.
Oh.
So I hadn't heard from him in 35 years, but he wrote me to tell me that they're not fuselages, they're nacelles.
Very important.
Anyway, so I built this model, and I showed it to my mother, and she looked at it and said, yeah, that's the plane that shot at me. So I checked, I did internet research, and while the P-38 was not often used for strafing, it was in the Italian campaign, and it was the airplane that they were using in and around Rome at that time. So at any rate, my mother was constantly telling me stories. You couldn't shut her up, and she had a zillion stories to tell, and I have to say that they were extremely high color stories. She came from a pretty crazy family. She was the last of 9 children. She had brothers and sisters who were so much older than her that they were like aunts and uncles. And she had siblings closer to her that died from typhus fever, and she survived. So she, from a very early age, thought that she was unkillable because she lost her favorite siblings and she survived. And so they called her a kind of a miracle child. So so she not only survived fascism, typhoid fever, and polio. She survived the war and getting shot at. So, yeah, she thought she was going to live forever. She was a bit strange. She was definitely convinced she was going to make it to 100. And I'm not sure if this is answering your question, but I was always impressed by the kind of charisma that she had and this conviction that she was really like unkillable. She was fearless, like I'm told Charles de Gaulle was fearless. I remember this one episode. I grew up in San Francisco and then we moved to Berkeley, and it was the fire into the frying pan or the frying pan into the fire. And at one point in the 60s, there was something called white boy days. Okay, if you were a white boy and you went to school, you would get beaten to a pulp. So all the white boys stayed home, right? Except I went to school. And my mother found out about this, and she came down to the campus, and she just sort of battled her way through people because I had been attacked, and she, pushed these 6-foot-tall guys who were beating people up out of the way, and the principal was there, and he was getting roughed up. And my mother said to him, how can you tolerate this? And he said, oh, well, you must understand it, or something like that. I was standing there, and she just poosh and slapped him across the face and knocked his hat off. You want me to try? So this was the kind of thing. I was always gobsmacked.
You're what?
Gobsmacked,
Oh, gobsmacked
by my mother. I mean,
By your mother.
yeah. So I thought, well, she was right, and everything, but she was totally exaggerated and out of control all the time.
Which leads me to my next question. Well, I grew up in a white bread family, and it would seem so boring to you. I told you about. Wow. I mean, this is part of when I read this book. I tried to put myself in your place, having such a high-powered mother. I mean, I just couldn't even begin to imagine. So my question is, I mean, were you embarrassed? She wasn't they were in California. This is not your standard, I don't think, standard California mom. Did you feel embarrassed sometimes, or proud, or maybe even a little bit superior that you had a mom who was so incredibly different than everybody else?
I would say yes to all three. I was mortified much of the time. But we all want our parents to be like everybody else's parents, right? And she spoke very fluent English, but she mispronounced lots of things. Yeah. So it was almost comical, but it was, cringe-making too. And I was proud of her because she came from a good family. They had been wealthy and powerful, and also this was something I couldn't believe either. Her mother was the 17th of 20 children, and they were Venetian nobility. Okay, so my mother's grandfather was a Venetian nobleman, And of course, I didn't believe this either, because she told all these stories all the time, and oh yeah, right, okay, well, right. And so you're a countess, right? And she'd say, no, I would never be the countess because my mother was 17, and that kind of. Well, I discovered she was right, and I saw the certificate that my cousins have, so she was right about that too.
There you go. See,
So, yeah, she was a very proud and super hyper-intelligent person. It was scary to be around her. I'd say something. I studied Latin, and I was starting to read Dante very early on, and my mother could recite entire chapters out of the Divine Comedy. And she'd just sit there and recite them. Of course, she could have been making it all up, and I wouldn't have known, right? She spoke Latin. I think she had 10 years of Latin or something. She spoke to priests. She'd go to So, yeah, I was proud of her. I thought she was out of her mind, but yeah. The weird thing is that almost everything she said, she turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
That's the really weird thing.
That's totally weird.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you kind of a mechanical or kind of a writer's question. This is your first memoir, so other than the fact that you had to, go back and reconstruct these memories and things like that, what kind of problems did you encounter with this kind of genre of a memoir? Was there anything special? It's different than fiction, and it's different. And also, while I'm at it, as you wrote, were you worried about reactions from the family and the people you talked about? I mean, the ones who aren't dead. Yeah.
Yes, to all the above, again. No, I just decided to write it, and the truth is that most of my siblings are either post-literate or illiterate. So I didn't think that they were going to read it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah,
You thought they were, and did they read it?
One sister is still reading it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she's getting through it.
And the other ones, they didn't read it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. One of them is an evangelical preacher and a Trump fanatic, if you can believe that. So we're totally estranged. I haven't spoken to him since he flew to Washington and participated in January 6th. And I said,
Oh my goodness.
that's it. I said, you've betrayed your family, and this is just too much. So,
Oh my God.
and he's not a stupid man. He's a retired engineer. He's not stupid, but he's an idiot.
You know what I love about David is the way he talks about his family. I mean, I'm one of these people, blood is thicker than water. So even if I had the worst person in the world, like he'd been in prison or something, I would never say anything bad about it. And he's just like, whoa, you're very, what shall we say? You're a truth teller.
I take after my mother in some
Yeah,
ways,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he takes after his mother. I take after my mother. We all take after our mothers. But anyway, this. No, not everybody takes. Okay, I will take it away. Take it back.
I can't remember the rest of your question.
I don't remember the rest of my question either. I said something. The genre of the memoir. I mean, there was anything special?
Right.
And
Right.
did you ever? I am not, as they say in French, pulling the curtain towards me, but I do have something to say that.
Yeah, no,
about,
we have to.
I mean, no, we don't have to talk about my
Yeah,
book
we
at all.
do.
But I got to say that for a couple of things, when I wrote this book, this was a book based on a family story in my dear French husband's family. And when I wrote this book, I had the weight of the family taboo on me for every minute that I wrote it. So I was fascinated that you could, say you just did it, kind of went away. I had this like,
But
sack
they're
of,
they're literate people.
yeah, but they're
Yeah.
people for whom this story was a taboo. It was not spoken about.
Right.
So here comes the American, and she decides to tell their story. This kind of stuff. So that's
Yeah.
what I was interested
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
And I also, did you read any memoirs to inspire you, or did you just go off and?
Well, I've read memoirs
you've
over
read
the
memoirs,
years, but I
yeah.
didn't make a particular study of
Okay,
memoirs.
yeah, right,
No,
okay, you
no.
didn't- you
The
didn't
truth
write
is that all of my writing has what they call an experiential component to it,
Yeah,
except this one, strangely
yeah,
enough.
the timeline.
All of my books are, about me going out into the world
Yeah.
and experiencing things. Years and years ago, at a is this a commentary?
Yeah, he's trying to shut you up. Okay.
You experience this at every Midi at this time.
Right now, at
Yeah.
this time.
You ought to pay him
Okay.
off.
Garbage trucks
Yeah.
come by at this time. And there's nothing
Anyway,
to do about
That's
it.
the way it is. Yeah.
Years and years ago,
Yeah.
at a
Hey.
travel writing conference, I was on staff, and on staff was Isabel Allende, and so she was talking about the fact that she said at a certain point, someone asked her if this and that had actually happened, and she said, well, it could have happened. And so they said, then it's all right to write something that didn't actually happen but could have happened. And she said, yes, I think so. So
For her fiction books. For her fiction books or for her nonfiction?
we're talking about travel writing. This was a
okay.
travel writing. So,
Okay,
so for the purposes of telling the story,
yeah.
I mean, yes, my mother told me stories over and over and over and over and over
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
but I wasn't there taking notes,
Yeah,
and I
that's what
never
I mean.
recorded anything.
Yeah.
But after, the third version of the same story, well, I kind of got the stories,
Yeah.
and Allison heard a lot of the stories, and so when I sat down to write it, I said, okay, maybe it didn't happen exactly like this.
Okay,
Who can know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let it stop me.
right.
Because
sure.
the spirit of it is this.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, beyond the half-brother who appeared to tell me that they're nacelles and not fuselages, I discovered from cousins who welled up out of nowhere.
Ah,
Some
Interesting.
I hadn't seen since the 1960s or 70s.
wow.
Yeah. So they read the book.
Uh-huh.
They're all literate, and they one cousin who's the son of my uncle Rino Vittorino, who was just an unbelievable character, a true hero, and I think some of my favorite parts of the book are about him. I got some of the stuff about him completely wrong.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I love that stuff you wrote about him.
Yeah, yeah.
She's wrong. But that's all right.
I loved it too. That's why my mother told it. but his son said, "No, I've got to tell you, this is absolutely wonderful, and I love it. But I have to tell you that it." So okay, yeah, he was in the resistance. What I learned that I didn't put in the book because I didn't know. There was a secret police organization in fascist Italy called the Ovra, and they went around assassinating anti-fascists.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
very famous assassinations that took place in France, for example. Well, they tried to assassinate my uncle and his wife, who was also in the resistance, and they were sitting at a cafe in Nice and got sprayed with bullets, just like the mafia from a car. And they both threw themselves to the ground, and they didn't die. So I didn't know about this. Strangely enough, my mother never told me that story. So, and then there were some other things, like this uncle. He ran away when he was, I think, 12. Well, I made him 20
Okay.
because I thought he was 20,
That's
but he
okay.
was 12.
12, 20.
And he winds up imprisoned in the famous fortress in Naples, the Castel dell'Ovo, where his father comes down to get my grandfather comes down to get him out, and the jailers take him in there, and my grandfather looks around, and they say, you know, and he looks at him and says, "He's not my son," and walks out. Can you imagine it?
Oh my gosh.
So this poor uncle of mine, who's 12 years old, and he's been locked up in this dungeon in Naples. So then my grandfather comes back a week later because he wanted to break him.
Oh, I remember that story now.
Yeah,
Your book.
they're-
Yeah, exactly.
they-
Yeah.
It was very, very,
Tough thing.
yeah. And this was the grandfather who was tortured and who lost everything.
You know,
So-
these are only a few of the stories he tells. So can you imagine the whole book? I mean, it's really fascinating. You can't imagine such a cast of characters in any one family.
And it's more or less true.
Oh, I know. But you know, you've spoken about your mother and you know all this Italian branch. But your father, it's very interesting when you write about your father, because the father you call him the grounded one and the disciplinarian with capital the and a capital D, the disciplinarian.
Yeah.
And so I think he was also a disciplined person, and he put up with a lot. I would say.
Oh, God. He was a saint.
Oh, he was a saint, and so I think you're a very disciplined person when you write, and you know you've written so many books, and you don't write books like that. It takes a lot of discipline, you know, to think of the idea, to put the idea up here, to get it out, la 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 la. And I think you have this great discipline. Does that come from your dad?
Gosh,
did you ever
I
think
don't
about
know.
that?
What about me? Maybe, you know.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
Was
don't-
your mom disciplined?
Yeah, she was.
Because you say she's mercurial.
She was
mercurial and off the wall.
totally mercurial. Nowadays, I think she would have been classed bipolar, but we didn't know it.
But yeah, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But my father was he was a newspaperman, journalist, and he volunteered and fought in the Italian campaign, which is how he met my mother. And he was very quiet. He was born in Kansas, total white bread Protestant. My grandmother was the president of the, what was it, Orange County Daughters of the American Revolution.
Can you imagine any two more contrasting people?
So my father comes back from war with this nutcase Italian wife. Yeah.
How did she take that? The mother, your dad's mom.
Well, they were very stiff, upper-lipped people. They didn't say much, and I think they must have been in shock.
I'm sure they were. Oh my God! You know, I want to ask you one thing. You do tell so many stories in this book. Did you have a favorite story? Of course. Did you have a favorite person in this family? And was it by any chance your grandfather, the Nonno Alessandro?
Yeah.
Or Reno. Reno seems to be like a favorite person too.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, my mother is the central
your
character.
mother, of course. Yeah.
And that she's the one I knew most about. My grandfather was literally a larger-than-life character. He was tall, which was unusual for Italians back then, and he was hugely fat. He was, you know, super dynamic, and he was a lawyer. He fought in World War I as an Alpino up in the Dolomites mostly. And he was a high-flying lawyer and an executive in an insurance company, and they were quite wealthy. They had a limousine and a chauffeur and the whole thing, and then were completely ruined. So he goes from being this kind of imperious, soldierly guy to being an old, worn-out, broken-down crackpot. So very pathetic, and I've always been fascinated by him.
Yeah.
And Reno was a real hero fighting in the resistance. My grandfather was in the resistance
Yeah, I
too. He
remember you
just
wrote about that.
he was an
Yeah.
old fat guy who couldn't do much at that time. So he did what he could to help people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
the Reno was unbelievable though. The things he did.
Yeah, I
The
loved your story of Reno.
escapes
You have to
and-
read the book to find out about his uncle Reno, who is really, really
Yeah, he was a real hero.
A real hero.
That's why so many of the people I knew when I was growing up in California, they seemed really dull to me. I mean, honestly.
I mean, I can imagine, yeah.
That's why my mother uprooted us and moved the family to Rome in the mid-1960s. She said she was fed up with California. That was it. One day to the next, we're out of here.
And the story is hysterical.
Yeah.
With this little brood of, American kids and they hit
So,
Italy. And
yeah, we're 4 American children that go with her to Rome in the mid-60s, and we have to completely reinvent ourselves and, go to Italian schools and the whole thing. And
apparently you were the only one who really liked it.
I loved it.
And the other ones were like, oh,
I was so happy because it was like her stories were coming true,
yeah. Yeah.
and I just loved Rome. Wow. I mean, I loved San Francisco too, but San Francisco was so bland compared to Rome. I mean, who could, they were different, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm winding up with my questions, except I have about 2. One is, of all the books you've written, and there are many, which is your favorite? Oh, God, you must have, what, 40 books?
No,
20
no.
books, I don't know, a lot.
No, 20, I think. That's,
Well, that's enough. But of all of them that you've written, do you have a favorite? I mean, your personal favorite, or your little baby?
oh, wow. Well,
That's a horrible
it's
question.
always the last book you've written,
Sure.
isn't it?
Right.
This book, I felt like
Yeah.
I was born to write this book. So
That's interesting.
if I never write another book, that's
Yeah.
okay.
That's really interesting that he says that, because there are books like that one writes, and that's the book you were meant to write.
Yeah,
And if you don't write another one, it's not
that's
important.
fine.
And that,
But
I felt that
I
that
have
was your
to
book.
say
Yeah.
again, I would not have written this book if it hadn't been for my wife, for Allison.
Well,
She's very soft-spoken, the daughter of diplomats, but she had that pitchfork out and was.
she carries the big stick.
I was not going to get away with that one.
Good for you, Allison.
He's
for you.
he's at it. He's at it again.
All
Okay.
right. So, yeah, and I'm going to sit down
Well,
now, and you can ask your
I have a
questions.
question for Harriet,
Oh,
though,
my.
because
What's
this was
that?
supposed to be a conversation about both of our books.
Yeah, but I mean, it's your book that just came out, so
How are we doing time-wise?
Oh, you got an hour.
Oh, my.
Oh no! Bring on the scotch or
Yeah.
something, because I can't go on for an hour. But Okay, there's a component in Shadows of Rome,
Yeah.
quite a bit about the Italian resistance and to fascism, and specifically in World War II, fighting the Nazis, right?
Right.
And your book is really all about that, but they're very different stories.
Oh, completely.
And I was curious to know what you thought of the similarities and the differences between the French experience with the resistance, the résistance,
Yeah.
and the partigiani in Italy, because as far as I know, and Philippe will be able to tell us about this, there were very similar tensions. The communist partisans, who were generally the most ferocious and heroic and successful in actual combat with the Nazis and the fascists and against the milice and so forth. And then there was this whole panoply of political persuasions, right? And it was very similar, the kind of confusion that you had in Italy and in France.
Right.
And in your book, you have, I mean, we grew up with the French Resistance. Everyone was a resistant, and everyone was a hero, right? Your book tells a very different story. Can you tell them? Just tell them briefly about the French Resistance as it's portrayed in your book.
As portrayed in my book, yes, I can. The French Resistance, from the very beginning, it was very divided among all the various political parties and persuasions, and it took Charles de Gaulle, to get everybody together. He flies off to London. He says, okay, France is my country, and I'm going to defend it, and we're going to get all these little movements together. And so he asked Jean Moulin to come and to unite all the different branches of the resistance into one huge resistance movement, which was really difficult to do, but he did it. And I think you asked me about the communists. The communists, you said, why did he sideline the communists after the war and when he was finally in government? De Gaulle wanted an independent France, and that's because of him that France is a nuclear power. He wanted France not to be subjugated to the communists who were taking over the rest of Europe. They were a very powerful political force. So that answers, the question there. But in my book, it's a personal kind of thing. It takes place in a very small village in the southwest of France, and there are, in this little microcosm, there are all these, there are these resistance fighting mostly in the woods in the Maquis. And if you ever go down to the Dordogne, you'll see it's a very heavily wooded area. And what better place could you be a resistant? I mean, you hide in those woods and nobody can find you, and you come surging out and attack the Nazis. But there was also the milice, or the people who were collaborating with Pétain. And these people lived in the same villages and they knew each other. And Philippe and I went down to this village to do some homework. And when we went down there, we actually met a woman whose father was a resistant, and he was a resistant, and she knew everybody and everything. And Philippe's aunt was assassinated not by the Nazis, but by the resistance, because they were doing their score settling after the war's end, and they thought that she was a collaborator. Now, did she sleep with the German? Who knows? But no, she did not. Did she maybe flirt with one? Maybe, yeah. So where do you draw the line? You kill people because they smiled at a German fellow or something? There were no trials at that time. That was before the trials. The trials that were set up legally, that didn't happen until September. She was killed in May. And believe me, she wasn't alone. There were 10,000 French people killed with no trial, found hanging from trees. Oh, la, la. It was also a very good time to get rid of anybody you didn't particularly like and with whom you'd been having a family feud. So it was a very troubled period of time down there, and I did a lot of research into it. It's fascinating. This being said, it was such a taboo story in Philippe's family that some people who had a relative to whom that happened, they wanted to restore their honor, and they, even sued the state, or sued whoever they could, and they were able to prove that this just couldn't have been true. In this family, it was so taboo that nobody even brought it up. It was very, very painful. Very painful. My mother-in-law could not bring herself to ever talk about her sister, whom she loved in that context. She told me about her in another context, but not that one. So anyway, that's the story of how the war lives on, and still today in that little village, the mayor of the village said people haven't voted communist here since the war because of all the horrible things that happened.
Yeah.
So, so there are all these old rankers, and you know the person and you pass them in the street, but you know also what they did then and all the guys. So it was resistance in wartime is a pretty horrible thing.
There's a village near. I spend a lot of time in the countryside in Burgundy nowadays. and there's a village maybe 10 kilometers, 6 miles from where we live, and it's divided 50-50, and half of the village were pro Vichy and Nazi and milice, and the other half were partisans, and they still hate each other to this day, and it's totally completely divided.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, much worse than in Italy.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
because in Italy, a lot of that stuff has faded.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you go. The one thing you do get is a severe feeling of hatred for a lot of communists. There's still tension. But you know, I don't think it's as marked as it is here in France still.
I think it's pretty marked in France.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, that whole thing about, you know, every Frenchman was a resistant kind of thing. People kind of say that in a snarky way, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, de Gaulle needed to unite France, and you know, anybody who talks about uniting the French it's like, you know, impossible.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, if you watch TV today, the government is, you know, dissolved. And they're gonna. I mean, no, he didn't dissolve, but they're gonna have a new prime minister and a lot of solidarité. Yeah. Aha. Well, I don't see any solidarité. I see a lot of the French are very disappointed with their politicians. That you could say. They are very, very. And tomorrow there's going to be a nice little. It's not an official strike, but watch out because there might be a lot of wild, you know, not legal, illegal things that are going to go on.
Yeah.
Okay, and the real one will come on the 18th of May. But the French are very. I mean, when we Americans come to France, unless you live here, have taken French nationality, vote here, have a French husband, go the whole way, you don't really need to worry about it. You know, it's fine. So you don't have the same vision as somebody who's just immersed in it. When I watch French TV, I can tell you, maybe there's solidarity somewhere, but I don't see it. And a lot of people are saying they don't see it anymore, and they're disappointed about it. But anyway, that's too long a story to get into. And voilà, c'est comme ça. So,
I just want to add that I really enjoyed Harriet's book and recommend it to all of you.
Voilà, you can find it on Amazon.
Is it an ebook?
It's an ebook, and you can either have this version, or you can have an ebook, or you can read it.
Is The Shadows of Rome an ebook?
Don't tell
Yeah, it's an ebook
yeah.
and an audiobook.
Yeah, and what
Did you
they
take the audio?
I did.
that I admire that because that is
first
really,
and last time.
oh, that's horrible. It's
Jesus,
horrible.
Jay,
Oh, God.
I mean,
Right.
wow, that was
God.
exhausting.
That's hard, and you know you sell about 2 audiobooks, so for the work that you
I
do,
think
it's
I've
not
sold
worth it.
one so far.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Not worth the work. Yeah.
Do you feel the same way when you watch American television
Yeah.
as French, like you do with French television?
Yeah, when I go back to the States, yeah, it's really weird. You know, I watch this stuff and I feel like I'm really out of it. You know, I don't.
You're open the floor to questions?
Are there questions? Oh,
Of course there are questions.
what is it? It.
It's not really a question. I'm reading Emmanuel Carrère's book called
Louder.
The book of Emmanuel Carrère called Cause. It's about his mother. And she was
Yes, Hélène,
the
donc,
family
oui.
aristocrats
Yes.
in
Russia,
and
yeah.
Georgia when there was the October Revolution and the Soviets took over. And there's a lot of similarities.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's something that I'm sure you would enjoy reading also.
Right. Right. Yeah, I heard about it on France Culture, I think,
Yeah.
and
It just came
Yeah.
out. It's
Yeah.
really good.
yeah,
Interesting.
Okay, so I have a question, but what I need you guys to do, because the audience is not mic'd up, is to repeat the question, since you guys are mic'd up.
Oh,
Okay?
okay.
So my question for David is, do you feel that you could have written your memoir earlier, or did you have to get to this point in your life to write the memoir?
So you want me to repeat this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I have written this memoir earlier in life, or did I have to get to this point in order to?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm reaching a point of physical decrepitude that may have pushed me to write it, because I felt that if I didn't actually knuckle down and do it, then I wouldn't be able to. I have very bad eyesight, and it's really very, very difficult for me to write now. I think on one level I could have written it when I was younger, but on another, in a way, I had to wait until they were all dead, all the important people in it.
It's like Emmanuel Carrère.
Yeah.
You waited until others.
Yeah. I don't
did
know what
too when I wrote my
it
book.
is, because it sounds awful, but there also is a sense.
Mom, it's always it's what we put up with.
Yeah, when we become orphans, it's an extremely sad thing, but there is also a sense of liberation. So you have a kind of freedom to do things and say things, and maybe even think things that you didn't when you were younger.
That's an interesting point. Okay.
Stand up, please, and speak
You want me to stand up?
loud, yes, so I don't have to repeat it.
Do that.
It has to reach your
I gotta reach his mic?
Yeah.
All right,
I
Joe.
go.
I know you wrote a memoir, and so I know it's personal. But in all the talk about fascism, do you have a chance to kind of dig into the ideology of fascism, like the belief system itself, or is it just, or do you set that aside?
Okay, so the question is, did I delve into the ideology of fascism? To an extent, but this is not a book about fascism. Fascism was the context in which, my mother's family had to live, and it was very, very traumatic for them, and helped bring about World War II. We may have not gone to war with Italy alone, but Italy joined up with Hitler, Nazi Germany, and so and Hitler was inspired by Mussolini. So but yeah, there are some. I do talk about some of the ideology of fascism, absolutely, but it's not a book about fascism. It's a personal memoir, and it's about my family. It's a lot about growing up under fascism, because I heard about that from my mother all the time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We can all drink now and go home.
Yeah. Where's the whiskey?
Any other questions?
Pass the whiskey. Wait.
So, I'm from San Francisco. So, my first thought was, where in the city did you grow up? And my second question was, how old were you when your mother took you off to Italy?
Okay. Well, I hope you'll read the book and you'll discover these things. I grew up in the Haight-Ashbury. I was born on Clayton Street. You too?
Yeah.
Really? What number?
You know what? I don't know because we moved when I was 3, so I was too little.
Okay. Yeah, I was born at home, because again, my mother, we were all born at home. She said, hospitals are for sick people. Oh, she had all the children at home. I was 6 when we moved to Rome, which is why I forgot English instantly and became Italian. My siblings were older. It was difficult for them, and they were very unhappy, apparently. I loved it. I didn't want to go back. So I came back myself when I could. Yes, sir. Or ma'am, whatever.
So I'm going to go there with a question picking up on the fascism theme again. Have you been back to Italy since sort of current iteration of neo-fascism has taken hold? Have you talked to relatives? Have you been back to the villages? Have you spoken to anybody there now in terms of even older people who might have remembered Mussolini and what happened? I mean, do you have any reflections on that? Because you mentioned very eloquently that we're experiencing this for the first time in a real way in the United States.
Yeah.
But Italy has gone through this before, or Italy has had to deal with this kind of far-right tension, and we now have a Meloni government.
Right.
Many people seem to think is maybe they'll be saying this about Marine Le Pen here in France in a couple of years' time, that okay, it's kind of an acceptable version, or it's a less unacceptable version of extreme fascism
Right.
than we do before.
Okay. I think Meloni is fascism light. She's an Atlanticist. She believes in NATO. She's not pro-Putin. I think she's turning out to be a lot less bad than we feared. I was extremely upset about that when she won. We spent half the year in Italy. And yes, I talk to people all the time about politics and about the past, about history and Mussolini. And we do know lots of old, very old people who lived through it. I think it's an extremely complicated situation. It would take me many hours to do it justice, and I'm not sure I could do it justice. I will say that there is a very alarming tendency in Italy to be nostalgic for Mussolini and the times of Mussolini. And often that nostalgia is found among people who were not alive at the time. It's this strange nostalgia that they get because their grandparents or their parents told them about how things worked, and how everything was well run and clean, and there was discipline and so forth, and pride, because the Italians were very proud of their heritage, and they thought that Mussolini was bringing them a kind of return to imperial Rome and so forth, and lots of nonsense. But I think Italy is an extremely complex place. The political situation there is always so gnarled up and crazy that it's difficult to imagine a new Mussolini. And I don't think that Meloni is a fascist in the sense of wanting to get rid of the other political parties, get rid of democracy, and militarize Italy. I don't think anyone could get the Italians to go out with a pea shooter now and do anything. I mean, honestly, it's not a country where being militaristic, and yes, they drive like they're, like they've got chariots and machine guns, but honestly, I'm not that concerned about that, and I also think that there's going to be a lot of infighting. Meloni detests Salvini, Matteo Salvini. So if you want to talk about a real neo-fascist, Matteo Salvini is much more of a fascist than Meloni. But Salvini is a bit like Mélenchon. He just blathers on and says idiotic things and roars at people, and and he's got maybe 5 or 7 or 10% of the population who follow him, probably closer to 5 than 10, and so I don't think that there is any immediate danger of Italy going back to a kind of Mussolini-style fascism. I think that's finished. As to Marine Le Pen and the Rassemblement National taking over in France and doing something really, I don't know. I hope not. I think the French are smart enough and quarrelsome enough to avoid that. But we shall see. I mean,
well, a lot of people thought that the United States was smart enough not to do like
that's why I'm speaking slowly and wondering what I'm saying, because
Thank you.
you're welcome. By the way, I don't think, even though I agree with General Milley, I mean, who would have ever thought that I would be on the side of a general who was appointed by Trump in the first place, right? It's like, oh my God. Well, Milley said that Trump is pure fascist, okay? And he presumably knows something about it because he's a military man. I think Trump is worse than a fascist, if that's possible. I think he's a neo-Nazi, white supremacist who is a puppet of Putin. And who is a pedophile, and I think that Putin has a hell of a dossier with compromat in it, and I think that the GOP is so revoltingly spineless that it's beyond belief. So, yeah, I agree with you. Who could have imagined it would happen, get to this point in America?
Yeah, tell us what you really think.
Okay, wait a minute. This hand came up first, and then this hand came up, and then the squeaky shoes guy came up.
San Francisco as well. And when I was growing up, there was a large Italian population in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And immigrants.
Yeah.
I was wondering if your mother and your family was at all involved with it.
Yes. Yeah, my mother was one of the founders of the Italian American Museum in San Francisco, and she kind of knew everyone in that world because she was an artist and she had shows in galleries, and she knew all the politicians and so forth. The thing about my mother was, beyond the fact that she was eccentric and mercurial, she was a real anti-clerical fanatic. She said she saw so many horrible things that the church was doing in Italy when she was growing up and during the war. She wound up, even though she was baptized and her mother was a fervent Catholic, my grandmother, my mother became extremely anti-Catholic, and so she had a lot of trouble with the Italian Americans in San Francisco.
I wish I had known your mother.
You would have loved her.
I'm sure I
Yeah.
loved her.
Yeah, she was wild. Okay, wait a minute. I think you were next.
When does World War III start?
Well, it depends how you measure it. I have heard that World War III has already started because the Russians are, the Russians are doing everything and its opposite to semer la pagaille, as the French would say, cause discord and violence, and they're sabotaging things. When I heard about the cable car in Lisbon, I said, that's the Russians. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. The cable broke. It's hard to break a cable like that. Who knows? But so, and then with all of the hacking and the manipulation of elections, and there are those who are, and they're not necessarily crackpots, who are saying that Elon Musk got a hold of the Russian algorithm, and he used the Russian algorithm to rig the swing state elections.
They say
And
that.
I have read some very
say that.
interesting articles about this. I am not a statistician, and I don't know anything about, voting machines and all that, so I don't know if it's true or not. It seems plausible.
Sure does.
So believe me, if they could do it, they would. Yeah. So I think World War III, it's a, what do they call it now? A hybrid warfare. It's not, I don't think we're going to see Russians coming down the streets of Paris with machine guns. But
No, it's more sophisticated than that.
yeah. Okay, wait a minute. I think he got, yeah.
I just wanted to mention that.
Please speak loudly so that.
I just wanted to mention that Rick Steves has a very, very good documentary on the rise of fascism in Italy, and it's online,
Wow.
and it's really very enlightening. And
Okay.
watch it, and then think about what's going on in the U.S. right now.
Sure, there are lots and lots of parallels.
Interesting.
Absolutely. But the real playbook is Hungary and
Right.
Russia. But Hungary and Russia were inspired by what happened in Italy and Germany. It all started in Italy for once. The Germans imitated it and did it with huge violence. I mean, the Italian fascists were violent enough. The Nazis were much worse. And now we have Nazism and fascism light in Hungary and not so light in Russia. Okay,
Since your mother was always right,
yeah.
if she lived in the U.S. now, what would she do? Would she leave? Would she go? Where would she go?
She would be in jail by now.
Before she got put in jail, where would she
My grandfather was involved in a plot to assassinate Mussolini. Okay, I think my mother, if she were alive now, she'd be 100. She was 1925, so she probably would have sacrificed herself and tried to kill the guy.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
So
Aren't we surprised though that no one's done yet?
yeah,
Very surprised.
yeah. That's another thing. I was talking to an actor about that whole thing, and the fact they have these patches filled with red paint that looks like blood. They use them in Hollywood all the time, and so you're the one who's hit, right? And the patch is here, and you go like this, and it explodes and sprays out blood. So you explain to me why in all the photos and videos of Trump, there is no sign of a bullet going through his ear. Also, you tell me how someone, how many hundreds of yards away in that direction, could shoot at him and he turns his head and it hits his ear.
And no one behind him gets hit.
There was one.
Someone
guy.
over-
There was one. Yeah.
I don't know.
There was a guy.
You tell me. I don't know.
Died. They-
Someone was killed, yeah.
Yeah, this guy killed.
Yeah, well, they had to make it look real, right? I don't know.
So do you live in Italy and San Francisco, or
No.
you're in Europe all the time?
I'll tell you, when I grew up with Ronald Reagan, like others, as governor, and then I studied political science as one of my majors. My other was Italian. And when Ronald Reagan was elected, I said, I'm out of here. I said, we've got the religious right coming in. This is very bad news. I'm not going to spend my life in a country that could elect Ronald Reagan and turn him into some kind of saint. So I left,
You saw it coming.
and I have not lived in San Francisco since, well, whatever it was, 82 or something like that, 83.
But you watch it from afar.
Oh, I watch it all the time. Yeah. Totally.
I was curious about one thing. You said that you were at Berkeley, UC Berkeley?
Yep.
What years were you there? We were both there.
Oh, I graduated in 1981, so I was there from 77 to 81.
That makes you a lot younger than us.
Yeah. Hey, I feel young here. I mean,
Wow.
Oh, really?
That's always nice to know.
this guy's younger than I am, but okay.
Any other questions?
Drinks, snacks.
Nope. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you both. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. Please do not forget to pay for your drinks. And you're welcome to stay as long